Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. And now that my buddy Raging Atheist is off the air, I feel free to go ahead with this. Alright. While you guys are noticing that this went live, those of you who are going to attend, and those of you in the future, let me give you a little briefing about what I'm going to be reading here until somebody comes in. This is an idea for idea translation without Christian presupposition. So going back to the most original text, the Masoretic text, the Greek lexicon, Peace and Respect Commander 401, what I've done is inserting as few words as possible, idea for idea written down, and where, like, for instance, in perhaps 30 words the King James interjects about 7, I'm interjecting more like 3. Peace and respect. What the heck? How did I say it? Was that pretty good? Let me know. So I've been opening the streams with these because, well, it just seems like a good way to spend some time. I think it presents an idea as to why Peace and Respect Kira J. Why I've adopted the view that I've had. I mean, there's some really revelatory things in an idea for idea translation without Christian presupposition. Like that Mary was really considering aborting Jesus. That's in the Bible. Shocking. Okay. Genesis 4:16. Head note. The following has so many names that I simply wrote the etymology of the name directly following the name itself. The sheer complexity of the following verses sets a standard that is difficult to understand unless you read it in a direct translation, which I'm going to do right after this. I have never heard of these verses used for teachings in churches. Perhaps by the end of this translation of the Word of Jehovah, you will understand enough of the context necessary to translate this section. For now, I will just directly translate it from the intent of the context shown to me, directly following these passages. So I'm going to just kind of read this kind of quick. So redeemed possession went out from the presence of the angels and dwelt in the land of Nod, wandering in exile, and came eastward in Eden, the land of Jehovah's pleasure. See, this is how it appears in the King James, and this is what it means, directly following that. And so, yeah, Eden means the land of Jehovah's pleasure. That's what it means. And Cain redeemed possession, knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enosh, dedicated by inauguration, and redeemed possession builded a city, and called the name of the city dedicated by inauguration after the name of Cain's son Enosh. To Enoch, dedicated by inauguration, it gets to be a tongue twister, doesn't it? Was born Irad, the fleet sequesterer, and the fleet sequesterer sired Mehujael, submitted by God, and submitted by God sired Methuselah, who is timely of God, and who is timely of God sired Lamech, powerful weapons user. And Lamech, powerful, took upon himself 2 wives. The name of one, passed on ornament, and the name of the other, defensive shade from image above. Super interesting that there's an image above that can cast shade on actually a group of people represented in one feminine here. Peace and respect, the Christian carpenter. And the passed on ornament bore Jabal, the stream of water irrigating and bringing forth. He was the father of those that dwell in temporary tents of shining tabernacles and are the purchased flock of sheep, so people who come to believe. And his brother's name, the stream that leads away. Look at that, they're brothers. Here you have Christ, stream of water irrigating and bringing forth, and the Antichrist, the stream that leads away. And he was the father of all that handle the harp to thrum, and the organ of breath. So this is like evil music, but not literal music. But musical kind of ideas, things that sound good to the ear. Defensive shade from an image above also bore, you will be brought out of redeemed possession. You will be brought of redeemed possession. So that makes sense. The defensive shade above, the defense from the shade of an image above, causes people to be redeemed, or is the mother of. An instructor of every artificer in brass, dull bell metal, and iron as lean choice olive. So that's like using metal to describe kinds of people. And the sister of you will be brought of redeemed possession, was named delightful loveliness. By the way, that's you. You listening right now, that's describing you, the delightful lovely people. And powerful said to his wives, passed on ornament and defensive shade from an image above. Hear my voice, ye wives of powerful. Hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a mature man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. The words mature man here means someone of full measure, meaning that they are, well, essentially perfect. Like full grown mentally, physically too, but like mentally, emotionally, logically, all the good stuff. If redeemed possession will be avenged sevenfold, truly powerful 77-fold. Of course, you have to go back to redeemed possession there. And that was Cain will be avenged sevenfold. And the emotional animal knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth, the emplaced substitution compensation. For angels had appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. Cain and Abel meaning transition and vanity. That is, Cain slays his transition, slays his vanity in a wilderness, which of course if you slay your vanity you are in a wilderness. And in place substitution compensation, to him was also born a family building block, and he called his name Enos, the certain husband to desperately wicked mankind. And then began the desperately sick gathering grapes to call on the name of Jehovah. So here we are in end times, and this is the family building blocks, which means son, but it means a specific son, a family building block. Which is literally what Bane or son means. So to translate all that, I hope you guys appreciate how long this sort of thing takes to do. People already redeemed went out from heaven eastward, those would be angels, to wander in the exile in the land of Jehovah's pleasure, or Eden, which is an earth. They reproduced, creating those committed to this new world, which thing is baptism by water. During the baptism was born some of fast redemption and some smited by God. And the Father who conducts the great day of the Lord created Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ took two kinds of brides who are his sisters and brothers. Those who his Father saved, and those who remained on the earth into the wrath of God and were under the shadow of heaven. Those the Father saved with ancient stories, that is the Old Testament, or the Bible as a whole, had temporary places of worship on the earth and were already redeemed by faith. That is to say, they had churches and they had faith. Those led astray by poor interpretation that came by evil thought things would return to normal when heaven departed. See, it's an evil idea in the story that earth continue and people continue to stay on the earth. So that's going to be what the beast of Satan says he can do, is restore the planet. And that will keep people there instead of taking the ascension. And he's wrong, because the planet does get destroyed. And those still under the shadow, peace and respect, Dr. Osiris. Is Jefferson here too? Congratulations. Oh, thanks, Jefferson. Peace and respect to Jefferson. Man, your brother and I had a bad talk the other day, and you were trying to tell him, but oh well, maybe next time. And those still under the shadow of heaven had birthed the one proficient in all works of the Holy Spirit, and he will call his bride delightful and lovely. That is, the people, when they get the evidence that they need and change their minds about what all this stuff means, because end times is going on, are called delightful and lovely. And that very, very likely includes you. Yes, you. You listening right now. Peace and respect, Crypta. And Jesus Christ said to those redeemed by ancient stories who had already ascended, and to those still under heaven, in the past I volunteered to die, and now I am quickened. So today my heart aches for the one, not yet quickened, who must also do this. This is the Father and the Son, or past Christ, next Christ, again. Excuse me. Sorry if that hurt your ears. Kind of took me off guard. If those who were first placed on this earth will be justified in their work 7 times over, because starting in earth was a good thing to do, certainly Jesus Christ will be justified in his work 77 times over, for saving them that were birthed there. That makes sense. And the first human knew the first woman again, and she bore a family building block and called his name the new compensation to be emplaced as atonement. That is Jesus. For angels appointed me another seed, repeating vanity, who transition slew. So this again, it's Jesus, and it's saying he was a normal guy. Which, wouldn't you want him to be anyway? And compensation emplaced as atonement, to him was also born a family building block, and he called his name certain husband to desperately wicked mankind. Then began the desperately sick gathering grapes, that's the people who do not yet believe, to call on the name of Jehovah. That is, Jesus shows up and people start understanding. Man, that was a bunch, wasn't it? Please notice that all the offspring are born male, and that each is a description of the purpose of Jesus Christ, and that it repeats. And now it's comment time. That's right, comment time. The time when you write things in the side chat or come right into the stream and speak your mind. What do you think, guys? Oh, I'm sorry, Crypta. What's wrong? Your face is blue. Dr. Osiris, peace and respect, Yahoo. You like my radio announcer voice? You even labeled it appropriately before I said it. That is exactly what I was doing. Don't they all sound like that? You know, politicians sound like that to me too. It's like they're doing a character. And not a very believable one in my view. It's like they're pretending to be this person. They can't possibly be that person. Like when I saw Bobcat Goldthwait, I thought, man, that's an interesting character he's performing. I didn't think that's who he is, though. You might come such a tease, Commander. After lunch. Okay. Well, this is for you guys. Even those who don't come around anymore. Quite a few of those. But I appreciate them not unsubbing, I guess. Even though I don't see them. And I can tell because, you know, the number of subs grows a lot faster than the number of people watching. So, some people sub and then they just click, let's see, notifications. Yeah, none. None. I'm actually okay with that. I guess it happens to everybody. Does StreamYard let you stream to more than one platform? Why, yes, StreamYard does let you stream to more than one platform. I think you can stream simultaneously. Oh, look who it is. Peace and respect the rage. How you doing, bro?
Hey, what's up, Richard? Congratulations, man. 500. That's a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal, but not compared to a lot of them. You know,
Well,
peace and
we
respect,
all
Sammy.
start somewhere, and it seems like you're growing. I think you're getting a bit of a buzz, and don't worry about the views because that happens to all of us, man. You know, like
Yeah.
if you look at the ratios of huge channels compared to people actually show up for their live streams, it roughly equates.
Yeah, I've looked at that. I actually got a pretty good ratio of people showing up who subscribed. You know,
Yeah, a
I'm
lot
not
of people
really
just
complaining.
they just catch shit when they can. You know, like I've noticed, like my last video gets watched more if I go a few days. you know, I can notice it then, but if I'm doing stuff like every day, then it's hard to notice. But
It drops off.
and not to mention YouTube hates small channels now, so you
What does
always
that
have to
mean?
take. Well, so YouTube became YouTube based on small channels. Like YouTube was like
Yeah.
this window into the normal person's life, but now they've went away from that. They are all about big channels and they're all about advertisers. So over the years, they've tried to become somewhat more and more like a streaming type platform.
Hmm.
It's I don't know. YouTube is not the YouTube of old when I started.
Well,
And
Dr. Osiris, I hope that you get the emotional support you need to feel better. And it may not mean very much to you right now, but I'd like to say that my heart goes out to you, that you feel like you're not doing that very well. Come on in there, Sammy. Brew dairy more.
That's brew.
You made me snot on myself, bro. Thanks.
so what's up, Sammy?
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You deserve
I
it.
did respectfully wait for rage to stop before I started.
Hey man, do your thing. It's your party.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I don't think I would step very hard on your toe, but I still think it would be rude. So I don't really want to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good. You're good, Richard. Yeah, shit. I
So
don't know what to say. I said
so
for
rage.
no reason.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. We're humans. So I'm setting up or trying to coordinate. I've got 2, maybe 3 people that already want to do it. We're going to be doing a live double-blind survey of what I would call prayer and some would call remote viewing. What do you think? You interested?
Yeah, I'd be interested, but
You ever done something like that before?
no.
It's better if you haven't, actually. It's better because it's real easy to like get bad ideas, and I try to very very thoroughly go through what all the bad ideas are so that people know what to avoid. And what do you think, Sammy? I'd say on the some 10 people that have done that in the last 3 shows where I did it, I'd say that people got an overall score of probably a +2 or +3 out of infinite possibilities.
Yeah. I mean, what I witnessed was at least that.
I'm kind of lowballing a little bit on purpose.
Still blown away by the fact that Wildheart basically drew the exact picture. Like,
He did.
but if I go into that worldview, right? Let's just grant that it exists. Prayer or remote viewing exists.
Hmm.
It would make sense that Wildheart would get it right because he's
Okay,
probably the
explain
one
that one
putting.
to me.
To me, he's the one putting the least thought in.
Well,
That
He's
actually is a really good rationale.
he's that loose. He was, you know, he's probably connected to it without even being aware. It's
So
like
the
drunks survive car crashes because they're so relaxed.
You've got a point.
so like when it comes to prayer, I understand that, right? Like remote viewing though, like what does that mean? Like what is the specific definition of that here?
Okay, so gathering information from outside of yourself in like a way that is it's very much communication. And the reason I can say it's communication, because if it's not true, then it's false and it's testable. And that's part of it is to, let me show you this. Sorry. So I pre-make up these sealed envelopes, and there's folders inside of them, right?
All right.
And then the crowd selects which one they're going to do, right? And I made these, I don't know, more than a year ago. I don't know. It's been some time. And I need to make more of them again because I'm down to 3 of them. But they select which one they're going to do, and then I talk about, at least briefly, what mentalism is and how people can use keywords to make you think of a certain thing, right? Like if I say, well, I don't know mentalism, but I've seen it done where they like draw something on the board, and then they say the word carrot, and then something else, and everybody thinks orange, because it's human nature to do that. Peace and respect, secular pagan mom. Jesus was pagan too, and thank you for the congratulations. And that's mentalism. So I point that out, and then I invite people to listen very carefully that I'm not using any leading words. So it's not mentalism, okay? It's not tricking the human brain. But the idea is to gather information through literal images or ideas in your own mind about what is in that envelope, which I keep the envelope on screen, blah, 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 and just let people draw whatever comes to their mind. The funny thing is that I'd say on average, the first time people do this, and I mean just normal people, you don't have to be gifted, you don't have to be special, you don't have to be emotionally in touch or highly logical or anything. Just ask the question, what is in the folder, by the markings that are on the folder, just so you have some kind of a direct target, say a target, right? And people will get, something of 100% of the image and its complexity. They're going to get like 10 to 15% right out of all possible images that could be in those folders. No matter which one they select or, whatever. It really just doesn't seem to matter. And it's also very odd that, for instance, when Sammy and I did this, and Sammy said, well, he got some positives, and he did. One of the positives that he got was that there was a light, and the light needed to be a certain angle or off perfect circle. It needed to be kind of an oval shape. And he said, one of my results, he showed me his paper, one of my results is this, a light. And he's like, I don't think that fits. And I said, well, actually, because it was power tools, that they do have a work light on them, right? So I went and fetched it and brought it, and I held it at, toward the camera, but not directly at the toward the camera, and squeezed the trigger. And he said at the time, and unless something has changed in the way I'm telling it, or I'm saying it inaccurately because my memory, or if his memory's changed, but I actually shined it at the predicted angle. And that was necessary to the way that he saw it. Here's the weird parts. Now, if that's not weird enough, I don't keep that tool here normally. That's usually at work.
So, I mean, that was kind of my idea of remote viewing. I was thinking Ghostbusters. I think it was like Bill Murray that was doing that PSYOP exam where, the psychiatrist would have a card and Bill Murray would have to try to guess what was on the card. But it seems like what you're describing is like you're actually getting actual clues of what's going to be in the envelope as opposed to trying to just guess with your mental telepathy, right?
No, it's totally quote unquote guessing.
No.
But it actually has
you
nothing
missed
to
the
do with
point.
guessing, and the more you guess, the more wrong you're going to be.
Richard was saying about that mentalism, how a lot of people do this, but that's not what he's doing. He's trying to do the exact opposite of that. So there's minimal input from anywhere. That's why these things are sealed in the envelope, and we just pick an envelope and start drawing. No discussion, no
nothing. I mean, I talk about the overarching practice and how that should be done so that you'll get the best possible results, right? But in no way do I use any kind of leading words. It's more like clear your mind, don't try to guess, only ask the question, what's in the envelope? You know, whatever comes to mind, don't try to make sense of it, don't try to figure out what it is, don't try to treat it as a puzzle piece, don't try to solve the puzzle. Just make good notes. Like if you're doing if you see a color, right? You can't just write down one of the 8 basic colors and say, oh, that's the right color. No, you had a 1 in 8 shot of that. People can guess things like that. So the idea is to not guess. Like I use the example blue because it happened on the last one with Sammy, which is not indicative that any of the rest of them have the color blue in the picture. I don't know. But it's one thing to write the word blue. It's another thing to write the word sky blue, because sky blue is a specific blue. It's not a bluish purple. It's not a bluish green. It's blue. It's clean blue.
Where I come from, we call that Carolina blue.
Carolina blue. Well, if that's the way you say it, there'd be nothing wrong with writing it that way. So,
in Carolina Tar Heels represent.
Oh yeah, they have sky blue on their. Yeah. Oh, you have it on your icon. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're white and sky blue. Carolina blue. But not so. I'd definitely be willing, but like I would warn, I'd come into it as rage. Like I'd be highly skeptical of what's going on.
See, right. Yeah, and that was like the same for me, rage. But I think the reason that I tried to give it a red hot go.
You're a little quiet, Sammy.
Is that better?
Are you on the wrong mic again? You're walking around.
Oh, is that better? Yes, I'm on the wrong goddamn mic.
It's lovely. You might want to switch that though.
Yeah. So the reason I wanted to give it a red hot go was I'm always at Christians and theists for not being willing to entertain anything outside of what they're convinced of, and so it makes me a hypocrite if I do the same thing. You know, if I can't dismiss something that I've never even had a shot at just because I think it's not real. You know, if I give it a good go, then at least I have a grounds to say, right on. I've tried it.
Yeah, careful, someone might call you honest.
I'd definitely give it a go, but yeah, I'd be skeptical because it's sounding more and more like that scene from Ghostbusters where they're the psychiatrist has a card that the psychiatrist is looking at, and Bill Murray's trying to guess what's on the fucking card. You know, I'm pretty sure that was Ghostbusters, right?
I don't know. That was also in that idea appeared in the movie Constantine with Neo. What's that dude's name?
Keanu Reeves.
That's it. Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched all of the John Wick trilogy again, and I can't wait for part 4. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Wait, there's a part 4?
Oh, yeah. There's got to be it. Part 3 was a cliffhanger, and I think that they're filming part 4 right now.
Thanks a lot, Wooly. Yeah, so I mean, I don't mind somebody joking about it or whatever. Like, I mean, I'm like not emotionally involved in this, but it's been my experience that after doing that several times, I can tell the difference between my imagination and me trying to like fill in gaps and the actual information. And once a person learns to do that, and that's the hardest part. That's why I practice this, is to become self-disciplined. So you're not doing the problem solving thing, because I think we're natural problem solvers, and that's actually in our way in learning. It's just like if you're sitting in math class, as a fifth grader, and every time the teacher says something, you're trying to figure out the next thing. You're just too damn distracted to learn anything. Bless you, brother.
Sorry.
That it's okay. You're just too damn distracted to really learn anything. You're always on the next thing instead of in the moment, which is obviously horrible for learning.
Well, yeah, I think I agree with that. Like, so like when I was growing up, there was a lot of theories out there. Like the next stage of evolution would be like telepathy and being able to communicate mentally, and then as technology became more advanced, it was, we're going to evolve into our machinery, into our technology, right? Which is, I think, still
Could be right.
a good possibility for sure. But I do think, like, I don't know, like the more brain function we use, the more different we're going to be, right? Like we are processing information more now than ever before within humanity. So I think that there's going to be some kind of ramifications from that, either positive or bad.
Right. And maybe that's what I'm witnessing here, is the beginnings of a new evolutionary state of mankind. Maybe that's what I'm seeing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely within. Like how are we? Because I think we've shown that we continue to evolve physically, right? Like there's parts of the human body that we just don't really need, and we're kind of evolving out of utilizing those or having them all together.
Sure.
I can think of there's a bone in the hand right now, like we just don't use, and we're evolving beyond even having that bone in our hand. But I think that there is something to be say, like evolution doesn't stop, right? Like our species, if evolution is true, will continue to change over a period of time. So I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that our mentalities are going to become much stronger given enough time.
I expect the angels to be humans, but very different from us. That's what I expect. Because I think the story is describing that they are fully evolved and we're not. Whatever the hell that means.
I love thought experiments, man.
It's interesting stuff.
There's gonna be there's gonna be atheists and Christians alike that find that little segment that I just said, Richard, and they're gonna have a field day with me. But I don't care. It's like I love thought experiments. I love to no, please don't. I love to think about things and possibilities. It's how I got into the quagmire with Matt Powell, was like, let's think about possibilities, and they turned that into Star Wars atheism, right? So it was like, but I love the thought experiments. I love going on the thought experiment. It's like one of the favorite things about our conversation we had on my channel the other day was, some people came in to challenge you, which is fine, great. Other people came in to go on that thought experiment, man, and it was great. I enjoyed that more than anything.
Yeah, I really enjoy that myself.
So
I think that's the difference between somebody who's an honest interlocutor and someone who's just set in their ways for whatever reason.
I'd give it a true shot. So as long as you do it on a day that, like sooner or later I'm going to be working again. So as long as I'm not working and I'm available, I'll be there.
So I just want to show you something that I've been fascinated by lately. Look at these titles. Actually, not the first title, but you can see underneath the first title, physicists have taken a first step in understanding quantum emergence, the transition from one to many particles. Then you look to the right of that, new quantum computing architecture could be used to connect large-scale devices. Under that, new type of entanglement let scientists see inside nuclei. We are discovering so much at the moment about
rapid,
quantum entanglement and it's leaning more and more towards looking like a multiverse than ever before. But more and more scientists are starting to talk about this universal connection between everything, which, you know, spiritualists have talked about forever. But it's like now they're starting to see it on the quantum level. And it's just, I wonder if we're heading towards this emergence of ancient spiritual beliefs and science.
You know,
Will
you're
they
not the
cease to
first
be
philosopher to
spiritual?
play with that idea. You know, that's a really old idea, actually, that you're saying is a possibility, or it's looking like it could be some kind of possibility. I can't remember who it was that said, because I'm not good at that, and I'm not really a fan of all those philosophers and stuff, but it was something like science's greatest fear is that when they finally get to the crest of the mountain, there will be, you know, the magi sitting there the whole time.
Yeah. TP Seeker, I have read all those articles. If you want, I'm not sure if you're saying that I should have read it for our benefit, but that's a lot of shit to read on Richard's stream. I can put the link in the chat for everyone so they don't think
Please
I'm
do.
just cherry picking titles. I was just trying to be succinct.
Yes. Although you'd be welcome, but it seems like you're caring for a young human right now, so
I am.
I'm not going to ask you to do all that right now.
Well, and I, you know, I was AFK there for a second, but I heard you mention multiverse and how, you know, science is starting to lean in that direction, and I agree. I think that, you know, science is a long way from away from like proving a multiverse. But like if you look into string theory, which Leo Filius would tell you is junk science, I don't think so. I think it's just new science.
It's hard to say.
And you know,
I
like
agree.
to me, I think that there's enough information out there to a possibility of a multiverse. It's made me agnostic on the notion of afterlife. I don't believe in heaven or hell, but I do think that if there is a multiverse, and the fact that, you know, I believe it's the second law of thermodynamics, energy can't be created nor destroyed. I think there's a
closed
strong
system.
possibility that there could be something there. Like, we can't completely dismiss old ideas just because we don't like them. I think that if science bears them out to a possibility, we if we're going to be honest, at least need to come to a philosophical position of agnosticism.
Yeah, I mean, who was it? I think, no, I can't remember who it was. It seems like it may have been James Apperson, but I'm not totally sure. Who said, you know, it might have been Tapioca Weasel. I can't remember, but it said if what we are experiencing is like some kind of gravitational waves, and if gravity equals time, and it seems to, there could be this possibility we're experiencing future time or past time in a B theory of time sort of thing. Although I don't really understand what would all that mean, or what would the repercussions of it be. Peace and respect, my darkened understanding.
Oh, Richard, I tried to play physicist in the debate one time, and it did not work out well for me.
Yeah, I mean, those are complicated ideas, and I just haven't had time to review that stuff in any kind of depth.
I love the idea of string theory, though. Like, everything to its smallest level makes a sound, and then once you get into the mathematics of it, it's like once you figure out the mathematics of the universe, and you realize that other universes could have different mathematics that equated in different results, it is fascinating shit, yo. I love the idea of it. Now I'm just like agnostic. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to see my mom again. But who
Right.
knows what happens after we die? Fucking, like,
You know-
I don't know. I've never died. I don't know.
What I actually think it's describing, multiverse would be unnecessary complexity. I think it's describing literal spaceships in our literal universe and a cloning process of recreating people, which is why you'll see expressions like "you must be born again." I don't think that's like figurative. I think it's literal in the text.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm kind of like a fantasy writer at heart. I come up with fictions. It's kind of what my brain does. But to me, it seems like it would be easier for somebody to get here, another race to get here from another universe, another dimension, as opposed to coming here from our own universe. Do you see what I'm saying? Like just what we understand about aerodynamics, propulsion, it doesn't seem possible to get from one point to another point in our universe that's extremely far away. But if you figure out a way to travel between dimensions, well, then that opens it up, I think, and I think it becomes a lot easier.
It's an interesting thought. I never thought about it.
Yeah. So spatially, they're already here, just in a different dimension. And
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Congratulations on the subscribers, Richard. Hi, Rage.
Thank you so
Hello.
much.
Hey, hello, and yes,
Gary Moore.
once again, I know you're trying to belittle it, but it's not an easy thing. 500 people hit that subscribe button, Richard, for sure, man. That means something.
That is a lot.
Yeah,
of folks,
dude. Congratulations. That's I don't. Yeah, I think that's pretty big, right? I mean, there are people out there trying to get to that still aren't there.
Yeah,
Hey, Rage, have you seen Dark? The show Dark on I think it's Netflix. Have any of you seen that show?
I think I tried to watch the first episode and it was hard for me to get into it, and I've read a lot of reviews about it and I'm like, man, I wish I'd have got into that.
So it's streaming on Netflix, so you can see it.
Yeah,
whenever.
I don't have Netflix right now. I'm an HBO Max dude, but yeah, it's on my to-do list. Like once I'm back on Netflix, I'll definitely give it a watch. Probably once like The Witcher season 3 comes out.
Got you. It's
Okay,
about
you-
wormholes. Is the short of it. It's a show.
Oh, is that what it
involves
is? Okay, I was gonna.
Yeah,
ask.
it's
Oh
like-
yeah,
it's-
I dig that. Yeah.
time and wormholes. It's pretty good. It's subtitles, Richard. So it's in German, and then they did another one that's 1989 from the same director that's on Netflix that I enjoyed even more than Dark, and same. That one I can't. It's really hard to describe, but they're both great. 1989 or no, I'm sorry, 1899. I'd recommend if you like multiverse, wormholes, different time theories, that sort of thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, another interesting one. I got really into season 1. I was like, season 2's okay, and season 3, like I still got to watch the last episode and a half because I'm like, oh my god, they ruined it. But like his Dark Materials, it's a very interesting concept about multiverse. This person has the ability to cut into to cut a hole into different universes or whatever, but it also like it incorporates religion, and Yahweh was defeated a long time ago by what's his name, the Megatron angel. I can't quite remember his
Rage, is that the one where they have animals or they're like
yeah
spirits?
the demons. Yeah, it was awesome. Like season 1 totally got me. But you know, it does deal with multiverse. It's been described as like an atheist wet dream. I don't quite get that. But again, I haven't finished it either. I haven't seen the end if like God gets defeated or whatever, because season 3 sucked.
I'm with you. I saw the first season and thought it was wonderful, and then tried a
Oh my
couple
god,
episodes. I need to go back to it because I've seen
the first season was so good.
so
And then
good.
yeah, the second season kind of falls off, and the third season is just fucking awful. It's like, oh my, what did they do?
Yeah, you know that happens a lot.
Yeah, the first season was so good though. I got on Facebook and I'm like, holy shit! I finally watched a TV series that felt like a book, and then yeah, it just kind of went to hell from there. I love multiverse shit though. I'm fascinated by it. Like I said, it affected me to a core, to the point to where I stopped being the raging atheist for a moment because I really became agnostic on a lot of shit. But now I'm more into my atheist philosophical position. But when it comes to the afterlife, I just don't know. Like If you look back at like ancient Egypt and their mummification process and what that entailed and where those people were actually going, you look at the Hindus and their concept of reincarnation, but then you look at the Buddhist, which is an off branch of that, their reincarnations or their interpretation of reincarnations spreads out across thousands of universes, right? Like, it seems like some of these old ideas are starting to get a bit of physics behind them, but we are at the very beginning stages of it.
Wait. How
I'm not
literally
saying
does Buddhism say multiverse?
Oh, I mean, it's within their cosmology. They literally believe in thousands of universes. If you had a past life on a different universe, that affects the universe you live in today. And it becomes harmful. So under their karma system, if you're raped or murdered, if you're an innocent and you're raped or murdered, well, obviously you did something in a past life that affected your karma in this present modern universe you live in.
That sounds like ad hoc rationalization to me.
I love Buddhism though. It's great. There's no deity involved unless you make one.
I don't know. There's people that say I'm an atheist because I don't believe in worshiping any kind of a person.
Richard,
But
there's
I
people that
just-
say I'm a Christian. Like, I have people that tell me I'm a Christian.
Really?
I believe you're an atheist, Richard.
Okay.
I don't. I think if Christianity is true, Richard is one of the few people that understand it.
Knock, when you say people say you're a Christian, do you mean like the I've got friends that are like, you have a Christian sized hole in your heart, basically, like that common trope, or like, oh well, I know you're,
No, they're basically calling me a grifter. They say I'm a Christian, but I play as an atheist.
Right, that's what I mean. Do you have like
Yeah.
Christian friends and family that were like, I know that in your heart of hearts that you're actually a Christian. You just
Oh, yeah.
right, like yeah, but that's just for them, right? Like that's just
Yeah,
them
well-
trying to like justify.
No, I
what
had those
they
people in my
believe
life, but
about
I'm talking about like Christians online. Tell me that, like, you're really just a Christian and you're pretending to be an atheist.
Do you think that comes from a point of? I typically find that comes from a point of like someone liking you and not being able to believe that you're gonna like whatever
Yes.
happens after this, right? Like they're
Probably.
just
Yes.
trying to like they're literally square their own round peg, I guess.
Yes, I was just talking about it in my stream earlier. I often include my problems in life, like my personal circumstances in the modern day. My issues being a dad, being a parent. I talk about being a single parent. All of these things I think are very humanizing. And when Christians see that, they see a human being, so that they can't rationalize to themselves that I'm
can
not
they-
one of them, right?
Do you want this, bud?
Rage, they can't understand literally how
Oh.
how
Wow.
anyone can be good. Like anybody that they
Yeah.
see as good, or anybody they see like struggling, or anybody that they even just remotely empathize
Oh,
with.
hang on.
They
Yeah.
want to put that label Christian on, I think, because it makes them feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I need to find the stream where I spent like an hour and a half going over every blaspheme I could online, and then like just like make that my comment to them. Like, you don't think I'm an atheist?
But that again is them like they have
Yeah.
like this ultimate knowledge that not even you have in your own mind. But to bring that back to Richard, because I was only able to see a few minutes on the way home or listen to, but Richard, you have that preacher dude coming on. Is it coming on, or are you just reviewing this evening?
The preacher dude.
I reviewed The Preacher tonight.
So I thought I saw Richard had a mirror stream that's like coming up. that
I
had
do.
Preacher.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I didn't see that.
It's not the preacher.
Oh, okay.
It's this guy
I-
calls himself End Times Teacher.
Oh
and-
no! Did you talk to him already?
Yes, I did. And I went on to a friend of mine's channel, And this friend of mine promised me that the guy was going to be, you know, a serious interlocutor and like be able to back up his arguments and make real arguments, and he never did. And it
He's
got
Black
really
Hebrew
super
Israelite.
frustrating.
He's a Black Hebrew Israelite. He has
Yeah,
no real
actually,
argument.
he's a pudgy, pale, pasty, white Black Hebrew Israelite,
Yeah.
which just doesn't make a damn bit of sense. But okay,
Well, it's a result of them trying to recruit. So they've accepted quote
Right.
unquote Latinos. So he claims to be Latino.
and he might be, but the guy's a muppet. It's just terrible.
He thinks white people are devils, and that the Jews in Israel are not the real Jews, but you know, black slaves in America, Native Americans, and Latinos were the real Jews.
Yeah, because that makes good sense. That bears out perfectly historically.
And if you're a black woman and you have a mixed child, then in order to join the Black Hebrew Israelites, you must put your child up for adoption because, you know,
Holy cow.
that child is the devil.
Fuck.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, oh, I love the Black Hebrew Israelites. They're like as bad as the KKK, maybe worse.
I didn't even get that far with him.
He's another one of those people that claim they've never lost a debate.
Yeah, you know, he said a lot of things like he schooled me and how I'm a joke and all that, you know, but I'm like trying to make reasonable arguments with him and like backing it up with the text and definitions and stuff. And he just like assertion after assertion. He couldn't even like take any of his arguments and like make a syllogism or anything, just anything.
What does he call us? He calls us we're the Edomites, I believe is the term.
Yeah.
And essentially we're like the descendants of Ham. We are of the devil, and so we are devils.
Is Jamie Russell one of those Christians? Because I think
No.
he's calling you an atheist. I
Oh,
mean,
please
a
have
Christian
Jamie come
in the
in.
chat.
Have Jamie come in. That would
Jamie
make for a fun
trolls me.
interaction.
Jamie knows me, but he trolls me. He has
You know, I
fun
got
with me.
mistaken for I got mistaken for a theist on Twitter yesterday.
Funny
How'd that
story.
go?
Funny story about Jamie Russell is I went into I graced him with my presence on an open room he had. I waited like 2 minutes and he didn't let me in. So I'm like, "Fuck you, Jamie Russell. You don't get the Raging Atheist on your stream."
I don't know. Jamie gets up in his head, and he
Why
might
doesn't-
not know you're backstage for, I don't know, quite some time.
Why doesn't
Yeah,
Jamie just
I figured.
come in and talk to us? That's always I always enjoy listening to Jamie.
I troll Jamie
From the
back.
dark.
Yeah, Jamie's not too bad. He's a Seventh-day Adventist. I actually usually get along with Seventh-day Adventists.
See, Spooky, that's good. You never lost a debate, but that's because you never had a debate. So how can you lose something you never had? There you go.
Precisely.
I don't know. I've had 16 or
Seven-
17 debates. I've lost a few of them. Without a doubt.
Seventh-day Adventists hold to the Trinity.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So what sets them apart?
Oh, mainly, so Ellen White. You'd have to really research Ellen White. Seventh-day Adventists hold that Saturday is the Sabbath, not Sunday, which I think they're pretty spot on about, actually.
Yeah.
And
Can we get Jamie talking to Delicioso or whatever the fuck Terry's name is?
that'd be great. That would be great. Somebody suggested like a preacher, Jill, Mr. Delicioso. We could throw in Jamie in there. That would be a four-way cat fight that I would love to cover for
Dude,
sure.
the only reason I mentioned it was to like bring it back to Richard because I thought like literally he was having the preacher and I just wanted to get the two of you to talk a little bit about that because that preacher dude and Jill's conversation was hard to listen to. Knock. That was like,
Yeah.
I mean, good God.
Have you talked to a Perry preacher, Richard?
No, I want to, and here's why. I think, although he's going too far, that he can foundationally say what he's saying from the text, but I also think that what Jill is saying can be said foundationally from the text. And also, I think I know what the impasse is. The difference between the demands put on an ignorant populace and the demands put on Christ. And the reason they can't accept that the big demands are only on Christ is because their time frame problem where they push him back 2,000 years.
That's something that, like, I guess you and Jamie may discuss, or like you and Jill and Preacher. But my thing is Jill and even Preacher, like, they're all just prime examples of like why it's obvious they don't give a shit about Jesus or love or any of this thing, because they've redefined love as literally like being such assholes to people that don't believe exactly what they believe. I mean, Jill is a walking nightmare of a person most of the time. And from my limited knowledge of just like listening to these people, it's I think if we could get all Christians to listen to those two for like once a day for an hour, there'd be no more Christianity.
I agree.
So I'm told I'm only supposed to say, sorry, I'm told I'm only supposed to say nice things. So I want to say of Jill, he knows how to run StreamYard. There you go.
Don't listen to the Scholar Fiction stream where he pretty much tells his wife to go back in the basement.
Oh, dude! Or like when he's just like, you could just count the things. Hey, Rage, where's Skylar? Is he all right?
Yeah. Last I talked to him, he was good, but
Cool.
He's going through like a lot of life transition and shit with the divorce, and like he moved and.
I was just from Rage, I'm an ex-addict, and I know like he's been dealing with a lot of issues like over the past couple of years, and I think he was pretty open about like some of those issues. And when I don't see him for a month, I'm just like, oh shit, man, I hope that dude's not like, fucking drowning in a pool of vomit daily.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. As a YouTuber that's done this a while, and he's done it a lot longer than I have, I understand the burnout. So I'm hoping a lot of it's just burnout. But yeah, like, I've struggled with alcoholism myself, and that's my worry, because I know that I did that a lot. I would disappear for a couple of weeks when my alcoholism got out of control, and it's something that we do. But I do, like, he's been doing this for so long. The burnout has to be real for him, because it's real for me, and I haven't done it half as long as he has.
Right on.
Are you saying you passed out at a frat party and you woke up and you're almost 40?
Is that Jamie Russell? God damn it. Yes, I'm Rip Van Winkle.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go have a cigarette. I hope you're all still here when I get back.
Good to hear your voice, Jamie. I pick on you about that stream because honestly, the reason I left was because I realized I'm going to come in here and I'm going to fuck up Jamie's conversation.
I don't care. That'd be cool. It'd be fun. No, it's cool.
So
I didn't see you if you did.
I didn't give you enough time to see me. I was literally in there for like 2 minutes. So.
After having like porn bombs happen to me a couple times down, like a little sketchy on it, opening up the room, but
it was my first time in your backstage too. You're probably like, who the hell is this raging?
I probably missed it because I like stare off. I struggle to watch that like when I'm talking, or if I'm because I get thinking, and I just have a bad habit because of my eyes. Like I have a nearsighted problem, and so the screen is always like, so I have this habit of not focusing on the screen sometimes, basically.
I watched quite a few of your streams where I put them on background as I'm cleaning my apartment. But I like your streams. They're, you try to bring in Christians and you have these serious conversations. It's none of that like Smokey Saint, like let's point the finger. You try to have real Christian conversations. I don't see that often enough.
Yeah, I can't. It's hard to get people to engage properly though. Like, everybody wants to like just come say what they're going to say. I'm trying to cultivate better, more, meaningful conversations, but it's hard. It's all harder
like herding cats.
Yeah,
it's hard for us too, man. Like I've been talking about it a lot. It's really hard to get people to really engage anymore. So no, I feel your pain. But I have enjoyed your streams. Like I do catch them quite a bit. You seem to be streaming when I wake up a lot.
Yeah, recently too, more recently because I'm not working at the moment, but that'll change soon. But you guys have any thoughts on? I've been thinking about trying to just like, if you, I'm think doing a regular show and having like a name for it would obviously help, don't you think? Or what do you guys think?
Jamie, you stream like 15 times a day.
No, I know,
Yeah.
because I'm not
Yeah.
working, and so, and I'm like, I live out in the middle of nowhere now, so, and my car's broken down, so
Well, I mean,
or I
it's-
I
it's-
should say I lost the key, and so I'm waiting for the key to get here in the mail because I live out in Idaho, like way out there, you know.
like when it comes to your Christian demographic, I think it would probably work for you to have at least, even if you stay like, you know, a bit inconsistent with your streams, you know, because your situation changes. But for the Christian demographic, having that one show steady every week would probably help you out a lot.
Yeah, and then just stick with it and be consistent. I think it would help.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to make like intros and stuff. Finally, like it's been a slow process of trying to learn. But do you guys I don't know, what have you found that helps with that sort of thing that you've done?
I had GL Sam. You know, that dude is awesome, and he sends me shit for free because he just likes me. A lot of people will you know, there's a lot of people out there that'll make you a really great intro if you put like $40-$60 on their PayPal. They're really good at what they do. But yeah, having intros is good. But I think that consistent show, that one show a week that's going to be consistent at a time, even on your slow weeks, if you stay true to it, it'll usually pan out for you, and you'll start to get consistent viewers. You just got to be patient with it, and that's the big thing with
That
YouTube
sounds-
is patience. You know,
Sounds right to me. Do you think seems like I don't want to like stop and like it takes so long to download it. Like I just like to stream it and try to do it live and just don't care. But it seems like being more professional about it and like, you know, editing it or whatnot and having using
YouTube loves
sound
uploads.
effects. Does
YouTube
it?
loves uploads.
I noticed a few of my uploads weren't getting seen because I didn't have them on. They wouldn't come up on the front page, and then I think you can fix that though. But then some of the ones recently that where I uploaded them, yeah, they did seem to get a little bit of a boost.
Yeah.
Considering most of my viewers come on for a lot during the live when it's live. So
And I'm telling you, dude, like right now, if you're not cursing, YouTube loves you. So
really,
oh yeah, dude. You know, they implemented the policy in 2018, but they are coming down with a hammer in 2023. So yeah, if you're not cursing, you're gonna be
I don't curse on it on there.
decent in the algorithm.
Do you? So how do you? Maybe you guys know how to do research? Like how does that work? Like for
I
researching.
use StreamBuddy. StreamBuddy helps a lot.
What's that? What's that about?
It'll help you with like keywords, demographics. It'll show you like you know, how many people are watching your shit. But honestly, when it comes to YouTube, it's all a science. Keywords, like Richard was talking about it earlier.
Are you saying like in the description or actually speaking them?
In everything. When you're live, this is where I fall short because I'm like not willing to devote myself. But when you're live, in your description, in your title, in your hashtags, everything. If you're looking up keywords and you're realizing the keywords that are going to be useful in any given situation, you're going to do well. I had a partner on YouTube a long time ago, Allie, that tried to turn me on to this, and I even let her do it on my channel for a couple weeks, and she showed me the results. And I'm just too lazy. I just want to stream and vent. But if you can actually look at it and really start researching it, that's the way to go because YouTube is the science, man. It's all about the algorithm.
The little research I've done, it sounds to me like it's kind of like the way the algorithm works is there's you kind of like get set into a niche, a larger niche, maybe
Yep.
perhaps, and then you have like then there'll be like nested, you know, more specific niches within that, and then they were talking about, I can't really articulate it very well, but then you want to be consistent and with topics that work or whatever, and then that niche will grow if you just keep like hitting it or whatever. But I don't necessarily, that's not necessarily my goal, is just to get more viewers, you know, but everybody says that. But I mean, it'd be nice to have more viewers, obviously, but I'm not so much interested in that over what I want to talk about, right? So
well, I even think within your worldview, it'd be in your purview to like really research and try to figure out the best way to reach as many people so you can try to convert as many people, right? But Christianity itself is a huge demographic. I mean, if you compare it to like atheism, we're such a small small demographic in the scope of things. Like you're not quite up there with like cats, but you're up there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the thing is, Christians are so diverse in their understanding of the Bible; it's unbelievable. So I almost find like I'm more interested in dealing with nominal Christians because of the bad teachings they have. I'm more focused. I find myself more focused on thinking that way, I guess, to be honest. But
Well, Jamie,
that's
don't
kind of
you
bad,
need
I
to
guess.
get?
That sounds bad.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. Like,
You need to figure out how to get like your particular, I think, style one that appeals to a lot of different, or the Christians that it does appeal to, right? Like you have a very distinct style.
Yeah.
And that appeals to some atheists like to watch you, and probably more you interact with other Christians is probably, at least I would say, like my favorite thing to watch is a lot of times is when a Christian like you interacts with someone like Richard or someone like Rebecca or someone that's, opposing views, because it shows that tension that we believe is there. But I think you also need to figure out how to get the Seventh Day Adventists to know that you're there, right? Like you just have to widen the net that you're, so you get on people's radar, and that's what Knox talking about with like the algorithm. And that's with any social media or media thing. You just need to figure out your hashtags, and once you're on the radar, I think a lot of people subscribe and don't even watch. I mean, I'm subscribed to 50 probably some odd channels, and I don't watch all of them all the time. Because
I'm subscribed to like 200 channels on this account.
well, and Rage, like I'll watch your show when, depending on what's going on, right? Like
yeah.
having watched you for a long time, like depending on if it's just you and venting and stuff, I'll go on to see if you're all right or whatever, and then just kind of like keep going through the stuff. Or but if you've got something like today you had on, that's something that I'm interested in, because I'm interested in like hearing your view on that, the same way that I'm sure there are people that appreciate Jamie's view if he were doing maybe a critique of something rather than like literally a 5-hour Bible study on this particular verse, right? But like,
yeah, those are the streams I skip. I'll
Right.
I'll admit.
Yeah, Jamie, I've been on your stream before, and I think it's great because it doesn't turn into a shit show typically, because like Richard, Rage blows things up sometimes, but that's like his
I do.
thing.
I do.
But I think
sometimes
people
you
show
just
up-
got to do it.
Sure, but some people show up to your show, and having said that, I tried to come on the other day and apologize for like steamrolling you on Rebecca's show, but like I come on here to talk to you guys. If I ever go on to Rebecca's, it's to be like, look, you can't say you like science when you don't use it properly, right? Like, or just whatever I'm
God,
going
yeah.
on, because
Everybody loves
Richard's really
Rebecca.
like-
I'm like, why?
She's so
Well,
sweet.
I don't necessarily think that everybody loves Rebecca. I think she's
I do.
problematic for a lot of
A
people.
lot of people, a lot of
Don't
atheists
know
do,
her.
and I'm like, she's nice, but
Yeah, but Jamie, like, can you see and maybe I'm completely
The
wrong,
tension,
but
yeah, sure.
because how are you a young Earth creationist that believes like, how can you be on one hand young Earth creationist and then be liberal on the other hand? And that's not to mention just like literally like all of the stuff in between that she's just wrong.
She's not.
about,
I don't
whether-
think she. I think people think she's liberal in a sense, right? In a certain sense, compared to like other conservative Christians.
What are you
I
talking about?
think-
She's liberal in the sense of everybody's getting in.
Well, like what we right. Well, I don't think that's what she's exactly saying, but she's unsure. I feel that tension too, and it's kind of a Seventh-day Adventist thing, I suppose.
But
Regarding
you can't be young Earth and get to liberal Christianity and not be like,
right. That's why I
you-
say I don't think it's totally liberal. Liberal is like how you come at the Bible and how you. But like I guess
Okay,
because
that's
of the
fair,
gay
yeah.
issue, right? And then but like that's how Christians should be. Like they shouldn't. There's a tension there, obviously, but I think that's where the liberals get it right a little bit as far as what the Bible is saying. I think there is room to understand what was going on in the century, the first century, what Paul was talking about, etc. It's kind of being more particular. It's hard for me. I get irritated the way Christians, treat certain issues, I guess I would say. So in that sense, it's liberal, but like, yeah, conservative in the sense of theologically, how you, not as have that bigoted tone. I think that's kind of the tone of the New Testament. And a lot of Christians kind of mess that up, I guess. I don't know. It's complicated. I hear what you're saying
Yeah.
though.
But I like coming on here and on yours because of the demeanor is extreme, or you guys are just nice, right? Like you're typically open to an actual discussion. You're not going to laugh at somebody and be like, oh, ha ha ha, you believe this. Like, you've got to be completely stupid to believe that. Like, there's not a lot of you know, Richard doesn't come at space
Ridicule?
Jams or the aliens and like, yeah, sure, ridicule his audience for not believing or being so blind or you know, misinterpreting the text maybe when he sees. And so I think that's different versus a lot of Christians. There is like Rebecca and a lot of like, there's a lot of condescension from a lot of Christians, whether
What-
it be her or, and then you've got the extreme on that sense of like somebody like Jill that's just a fucking raging asshole, right? Like just an asshole from get one, and that's what he does. He comes out of the box and he slaps you in the face or punches you in the nuts, and that's how he wants to start the fight, right? And so
Yeah.
and that's what
See,
happens.
I decide where I hang out and people I'm gonna call friend based on one decision, one option, two choices, one option. I think that's how that works. Is how honest are they? If they're honestly seeking, I don't care what they believe. If they're honestly seeking and their mind is still pliable and willing to move, then I'm willing to engage. But people whose minds have become stagnant and dogmatic and won't budge and don't really want to listen to anything else, they're waiting to talk. The wait to talkers. That's pretty much the one kind of person that I won't give the time of day to, and I end up yelling and being quite disrespectful to them because I don't have much respect for that.
I have an adverse reaction to bigotry. I think everybody knows that about me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too.
I would
Is there
like to
such
say,
thing as, like, mental allergies?
yes, I have one when it comes to like just straight out bigotry. But Jamie, I know you're Seventh-day Adventist, and I want to help you out. I'm going to talk to my friend Justin Coe. I was being sarcastic in one of your side chats earlier. I'd like to see you and Justin Coe go at it. But actually, I want to hook you up with him because he is a huge Seventh-day Adventist. He has created a huge channel here on the internet. He goes all over the country and talks to people. He knows all of the leadership. Next time he comes to Michigan, he's actually going to introduce me to the leadership of the Seventh-day Adventist here in Michigan, and I'm going to get to talk to these people that know their shit about this religion. And so, like, I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to tell him I know the Seventh-day Adventist guy that's trying to do, he's going against, like, he's standing up for the Seventh-day Adventist against other people in our little hemisphere of the YouTubes here. And he does a lot of shows, and maybe I can get you on his show. Maybe it'll bring you some exposure, because we troll each other. But I like you. I think you're not that bad of a Christian. I've met a lot of Christians on this channel, and you're a good one. I just have to say it.
Yeah, thanks, man. That'd be cool.
So yeah, I'll talk to him and I'll reach out to you.
One day I was
he'll
messing
be
with
open
you.
to it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I remember that one time I was messing with you and you played along pretty. It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
You
I have.
you were like, "What did I
have
say? Your
fun
bad
with you.
haircut, bad haircut before a hot date or something." Or like, that was fun.
Yeah, dude,
was
you
messing with
always
you.
trolled me. You trolled me good. But you've always been fair with me as well, and I've always appreciated that about you. So, Justin Coe, he used to be called that Christian vlogger. I'm really good
I
friends
know
with
that
him.
is. I think I've I might be subscribed to his channel, but like a long time ago or
Yeah,
something. But,
I think you
he's-
guys would get along.
he's
So
the
I'm gonna try to hook
Asian
you guys
guy,
up.
right? He's
Yeah,
Asian,
yeah.
Filipino maybe. I
Dude,
forget.
he's been in my fucking apartment, man. His wife
Scary.
and my daughter are like close. So
Cool.
yeah, dude, I'm gonna try to hook you guys up. I think you'll get along.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I always like I feel like when you and CJ talk, it's always entertaining. It's always worth watching. Too,
Oh,
you know?
next time me and CJ talk, there's gonna be fireworks. I'm gonna set it up. Like, we got issues to talk about, me and CJ.
Oh, what's that?
He's one of the. I mean, he's one of the craziest Christians I've ever come across. He's just so goddamn nice. It's like it's insane. So
I love him.
so-
I've been supporting him financially for a long time because he stuck out to me. So, I mean, not
yeah.
supporting him. You know what I mean? I give him donations regularly. I mean, yeah, he's like the only person left that gets any donations from me. So
I like CJ, but we got to have a talk, and I want to do it live. But all right, enough of me. I want this to kind of swing back to Richard. You guys talk. I'm gonna kind of shut up for a while.
So come at me, guys.
So
But
when was the narrative
seriously-
of Jesus? When was the narrative of Jesus set in time?
Oh, when? Yeah. Okay. I think that Jesus always happens in end times. So what you're calling the second coming, I'm calling the first coming.
Do you think it's the same person, right, or no?
What do you mean by the same person?
The same person spoken of? Is it an archetype or is it an individual?
Archetype. It's an individual who is also an archetype. And he's given many names and or many crowns is how the text says it. That they're all looking for the same guy to be there at the right time. And I think it's evidence that, you know, when Jesus says things like, I do as my Father before me, you know, that, and he does it during the time of the testimony, that he's talking about his Father having been the last one who did a testimony. So I think you're calling Jesus of the past. I think you're actually talking about the Father. And then Jesus of the future, I think you're talking about the Jesus of this earth.
So what can I take as historical from the text in real history? And then also, I would also say that back to that, I would say something like, well, I see that I would think from, and so obviously I'm speaking from my perspective, right? So I'm just going to assume that just for the sake of conversation,
That's okay.
because I usually don't necessarily do that. But let's say from my perspective, you're saying, it seems to me you're picking up on this idea that's in the text that we're type, Christ is an archetype, and then the archetype of the human condition is running through the Bible, like in all the stories, leading and
Sure.
pointing to the Christ. And then there's a kind of this overtone or whatever, this idea that, you know, of a marriage, and we're supposed to be like little Christs or something in a sense, right? So it seems like you're picking up on that, and then you know, putting the pedal to the metal, maybe. I don't know.
I think I'm dismissing no part of it. And whenever I talk to someone, I haven't talked enough to you, although you do a lot of shows that I watch. You and I hardly ever get to talk. And I really don't know all of your position, but I usually find parts where whatever Christian I'm talking to is ignoring some part of the text. I don't know that you are doing that, but it's been consistent so far in Christians.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I remember that first time I talked to you. That was fun. And like I said, I like some of the insights that you pull out of the text that people want to pretend like they aren't there, like the astronomical aspects of it, or however you want to say it.
Right.
You know, astrology
Yeah,
of it, or whatever.
it's evident that the blessings of Israel are descriptions of the zodiac, and a one for one.
yeah.
Each one of them are there,
No
and a
doubt.
Jew would never deny that. You know, the Jews have their own zodiac, and the only one that isn't a one for one match, an exact match, is the position Scorpio and the tribe Benjamin the wolf. But it's the only one left, and they're both wild animals, and they're not the sort of thing you keep as a pet, and you know.
The thing is, like a lot of that, the way I look at that is, I just look at it like, well, God set it up that way, and He's the creator of everything, and so it's no surprise that He sets the sun and the moon and the stars for signs and seasons, and that would have multiple applications in how you think
Sure.
of that. You know, like it was for just standard day night stuff. You know, monthly, weekly, yearly sort of thing, and then also it also appointed the festivals that he ends up in, because the people often don't think about that, but like according to the text, it's like the festivals weren't set up from the very beginning. They were implemented, and then they're based on astronomical events. So it kind of lends to this idea that God was setting it all up. That's how I would look at it.
Just to jump in, Richard, I gotta go. I gotta make dinner.
Oh, it's good to see you, man.
Thanks for letting me in. Great talking to all of y'all. And
Yeah,
maybe
Rich,
later,
yeah.
if you guys are still going, I'll hop back in.
Hilarious show today, man. You guys didn't check out his show today. Check out Rage.
Oh, thank you, Richard. And
Love,
you guys have a great night.
love you, brother.
You too, Rich.
Don't care what they say. Decent guy. Seriously, deeply decent guy. He doesn't like a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the only problem he's got. Okay.
So about the Jesus thing, the time thing too. I wanted you to answer that one.
So, okay, it's evident to me in the text that Jesus has special position. It's evident that the special position and special rewards are described in the text. It's evident to me that those special rewards are to be seated at God's right hand, given a throne, dressed in white, given a crown. This is a description of the 24 elders. The only problem is they're already doing it, and there's more than one. And every explanation I've heard of the 24 elders just seemed really arbitrary, and no one seems to be able to come up with a solid explanation of their existence. But I think it's because we think we're so special that we could be, that there's no possibility we could be an earth, and we must be the earth. And I think that's just pride.
What chapter is that? With the 20? Is that 6 or 5? I forget.
The 24 elders, 4 in the book of Revelation. Yeah.
So my understanding, because I hadn't studied it for a while, so last time we talked, I wasn't clear on everything, but I've been studying it a little, starting to study it, I should say. And because I'm trying to like put a timeline down, it makes the most sense to me because of my historical understanding of Daniel and then also Revelation, is that that's coming leading up to a scene in heaven where Christ ascends to heaven after his sacrifice. And
Sure.
so he's presenting himself before the Father as that sacrifice. And of course, the first coming has all sorts of weird eschatological ties, and it's hard to know where what's in the first century and what's supposed to be the future.
What do you mean by
sort of thing.
weird, though?
Weird of that. Well, like for instance, like according to the narrative and according to historically speaking, the Jews, even in the text itself, they're like saying, "Are you going to set up the kingdom now?" And the way they read the Old Testament, it didn't necessarily seem like two events separated, and so there's confusing. Like if you take it that Jesus fulfilled parts of it in the first century, and then later he's going to fulfill other parts. When you read the Old Testament,
Just a second, Sammy.
you can't tell which parts. You can't really untangle what, like from a classical Christian, historical Christian understanding of prophecy and whatnot, what is fulfilled necessarily, and what's like already but not yet, what's future. And people have historically been like, no, it's all in the past. No, it's all in the future. No, it's all in the history.
Right. Go ahead, Sammy.
So listening to that, I just had a small epiphany about the simplicity of your view, Richard, and the layers that have become Christianity, like layers upon layers of complexity, and it just, I was like, wow.
It's really it's really hard, and
noticed before.
And Jamie only mentioned half of it. Actually, it's actually worse when you start talking about end times, and you start talking about the millennia and the repeating millennia and all that. It gets worse. It gets a lot worse.
Yeah, it actually lends credibility to the way you look at it, because I would say, from my perspective, you're exaggerating certain aspects, but they're clearly there, and like people should acknowledge that. But a lot of people don't have the knowledge to acknowledge it. You know, the thing is, and so that actually lends to the kind of what you're saying, and I think people just hear it and it just sounds so different to them they can't even entertain it for a moment, which is too bad, because you can glean lots of interesting things from people of different perspectives, which I find to be the most fruitful for my understanding and growth.
I point out, I mean, I could form a lot of these arguments into syllogisms, but here's one I've run down pretty solidly. Excuse me. According to according to the text, so it's an internal critique. God rests the Sabbath day. God rests on the Sabbath day from all of his creation. Man is part of God's creation. Man, according to the text, is not complete, but is completed in heaven. Man completed in heaven begins the day of God's rest. There has been no Sabbath of this earth. Any Sabbath of God's rest has to have been of some other earth.
Yeah, it's funny because Seventh-day Adventists have in their tradition this idea based off of Leviticus 23 through 25, and this is Sabbath pattern that you see in these Shemitah cycles you see for the week, you know, in Genesis or whatever, if you want to take it literally. And then the 6,000 year, 7,000 year pattern thing that people also noticed, a lot of the early church fathers spoke to this. If you look it up, it's very interesting. They talked about this explicitly. And so, yes, there is the day of the Lord, which seems to be the seventh millennium from a straightforward reading of the chronology. And so, yeah, there is a sense where that God's going to rest. I would argue that it's kind of like these little God's setting that up. Like people know sevens are in the Bible, right? But in so many different ways, it's like God's pattern. You go look for the first mention, and it's the weekly cycle. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a great example. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It makes the text very interesting.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, it's evident that Daniel belongs as a complement to the book of Revelation, or the book of Revelation a complement to Daniel. And it is talking about those kinds of patterns. But if what I'm saying is true, and at the white throne judgment, the innocent, which it states this in no uncertain terms, I think, that, you know, the more knowledge you have, the more responsibility you have. But then it calls the people stiff-necked and ignorant several times.
Oh yeah.
Which, yeah, definitely. So that's why extended grace is because of their ignorance, and that makes sense in the face of ignorance that grace is extended. Where it's really hard to assign guilt and blame in the obvious ignorance of someone, which is why we have scales for our civil law of what the sentencing will be. The judge goes, this guy's really ignorant, I'm going to give him a light sentence. It's the first time he's done it.
And that's where I have a heart for that. Like, so there's like, and I think people misunderstand this about me too. Like, there's one thing where you can speak about like moral principles that are like self-evident, like in like that would like kind of crop up, let's say, in a culture. And then you have, you know, the innocence of like mitigating circumstances that are, you know, intelligence or pressure from outside, you know, more culpable people. And then you know, potentially or whatever. And then you have, so that kind of speaks to what somebody brought up earlier, which was about, you know, being conservative as a Christian, yet like wondering about people who never heard the message as you understand it, you know, for salvation and all that. And so, what was I going to ask you real quick? You sparked my interest on. I want to show you something when you get a second here or whatever, but to see what you make from this.
Do I seem overly busy right now? Because I'm not. Well, that's why I'm having a stream.
On a slide. I can actually show you it. It's just a couple slides, and then I'll just see what you make of this, because it's really quick. It won't be long. It's a short text here, so it's let's see right here.
I'm gonna respond to some side chat for a second while you're getting this ready. Okay, it looks like it's ready.
Yeah, so this is just a hermeneutical principle from the Seventh-day Adventist tradition. It's a Protestant principle about, you know, interpreting prophecy, and this, so it's a hermeneutical principle. But it's two of the texts they appeal to, which some have said this is not appropriate interpretively, but this is two texts that are appealed to regarding this. And of course, everybody, the whole entire Christian world almost entirely agrees that the weeks of Daniel, the days of the weeks equal a year. So we have that too. So that being said, this is where they get it from. I'm just curious what you would say to this. So here's the text. When thou hast accomplished them, lie again on the right side, and you shall bear. This is dealing with the prophet, right? He wants them to like represent. Right, he's representing. Right? Yeah, you don't like Ezekiel, huh? But just check.
No, I don't dislike Ezekiel. I just have very defined ideas about what it's talking about.
Okay, yeah, 40 days. I have appointed thee each day, or for 40 days. That's what he wants him to do. Lie on his side for 40 days. And he says, I've appointed thee a day, each day for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it continues, for I've laid upon thee the years of the iniquity according to the number of the days. 300, you know, this is just emphasizing it, right? And then up to the number of days, each day for a year. So that those are the two texts that they'll appeal to, and then the fact that people believe in the weeks or the days of the Daniel's 70 weeks are years. But of course,
Okay.
you don't. Do you think that's historical?
Do I think
That
that's
part of it?
historical?
Yeah, like the 70 weeks. Like there's people.
I don't
in
think the
past.
point is it being historically accurate. I don't think it's about historicity at all.
Okay.
Um,
So you
and
don't
I'll-
think Daniel was a real person in Persia then? Like when we have lots of, we have all their baked. I could pull up the sources on it if you want, but
It sounds like
that-
you're drumming on your microphone on the metal part.
Sorry, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know
sorry.
why.
I mean, because everything's out of whack here. I'm trying to get out of the habit of that. Sorry. So I'm just saying, it seems to me it's almost. You could argue that Daniel is a narrative weaved into history, but it's no doubt that the succession of kings from Babylon to the Medes and the Persians and the Greece and Rome, that's all just like no doubt history. Some of the most well-established history, so
Okay.
of world empires and stuff. And then we have
Okay,
of
so
course Daniel.
here's the overall problem I have with all of that, and just to encapsulate it easily. What's the point of figuring out all of these weeks and years and months and stuff? What does that get you?
Well, I would say historically, it made people believe that in the validity of the Bible for one, and then also it's just his history, and then.
I thought it got you to when's end times. Am I wrong about that?
Well, in my context, I would say if you want you're asking me personally. I would
Yeah,
say
you personally.
Yeah. It refines
Okay.
the understanding of eschatology and history. Yeah.
Okay, so if the point is when will end times be, or that's part of the point, I guess.
Part of it.
Okay, fair enough. Do you believe that the text is describing signs that people will see in what Christians often call the announcing miracles? Do you think those are real, or do you think they're?
Yeah, I think Jesus seemed to emphasize that what man does not live but on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. He said, "It is written, have you not read?" He told the Pharisees, "You did not recognize the time of your visitation." I think that's tied to the New Testament when almost several of the Gospels start. It starts with his baptism, and the text tells you that they were in anticipation at that time of the Messiah. They think John the Baptist might be the Messiah, and the one text that would indicate that they would have a reason to be in expectation would be according to Daniel's prophecy. I would argue. I would say, like, even if you don't believe in the validity of the Bible, you're going to still say, even if you thought the Bible was like a made up thing, you would still
Right.
say, studying it, that is what the text is saying. That it's
Right.
suggesting, according to Daniel, that Christ, they were expecting their Messiah at the time because of Daniel 9.
But if I entertain that an evil nation needeth a sign, and then the signs are listed, and literally things too big for human beings to do, at this stage of civilization, and that angels claim that they're the ones that do it in the name of the Father.
Are you saying it's evil then? Just real quick on that, because I
No.
don't understand you, or you're different than me. I'm saying
No.
the way I understand that to be saying is that it's not that God doesn't ever use signs as a principle, and you know that obviously, and then it's not that
Yeah.
that you can't ever ask for a sign appropriately. It's just that I think in the context of he's kind of this idea that they want signs, but they really don't want a sign. They're not going to accept it no matter what. That's kind of the context I understand it. Is it different for you?
Okay, well that makes it useless.
What do you mean?
Okay, if the signs are for believers who already believe, what's the point? They already believe. If they're not effective for the unbeliever or quote unquote evil nation, then they're absolutely useless. They do nothing.
Well, okay, but there's kind of this separation he makes when he's speaking about his people, right? There's the leadership, who he definitely is condemning, but then there's also his people that are the Jews. So they're like, you could say in a way the Jews, in that context of the first century, he's come for the Jews to teach to the Jews, right? Because he wants to establish his church with his people, as it was all laid out. And I would argue, so
Yeah.
he's like, they're believers, right? Because they're Israel. But then like within Israel, there's those who accept the Messiah or not. And so they are kind of like, there is like believers among there's like a group of believers he's preaching to, quote unquote believers in Yahweh, let's say, but they've gone corrupted, and he's like calling believers out of the pseudo believers, you could argue, or something. You know, like it's a kind of a weird category,
Well,
actually.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, there's believers and there's not believers, and we all know it, right?
Right.
But if the signs are for the non-believing, quote unquote, evil nation, which, you know, evil more means they've divorced themselves from what is righteous, something like that. Not that they're like satanic or something. Then the signs are for them, and if that's true, then I have to say, well, we still have atheists. Why should I think there's been a sign? There's certainly, if there'd been several of them, we wouldn't have people of the evil nation. They'd have gotten their signs.
That's kind of deterministic, though, don't you think? Like, it is a bunch of interesting
Sure.
questions pop in your mind when you with that idea that, well, why would he even do a sign? Those who will believe will just believe, and that kind of idea in there.
But isn't the
text, too.
common answer we just deny it? Like I deny
Well,
Well,
yeah,
the sign.
right. There's that too.
That's a common Christian trope. I just don't hold that that's true.
Richard,
It's
I
because-
absolutely agree with you.
But that was specific to certain people, too.
Yes,
It comes from the
I think
text.
it's going to be specific to certain people. Like, let's say, just for instance, I'm not crazy, just for argument's sake, just for now. Yeah, here's your sign, Wes. Yeah, that it's literally describing really ancient spaceships, and one brand new one. And they descend onto the Earth, and they pierce the atmosphere, and they hover at about 3,000 feet off the ground, depending on, you know, the elevation where they are and stuff. How could a person possibly deny that that was going on? Like, they'd have to be either in a coma or, I don't know, mental. Like, children will be pointing, going, "Look, Mom." Like, you won't be able to deny it. So in that time frame, it would take a special kind of person to say, I don't think these things exist. And the way the text says it, since it's claiming to be the habitation of God, is that they have the evidence that's required, yet they deny in their unrighteousness the existence of these things. Well, it's not unrighteous when you don't have evidence. That's not unrighteous. Unrighteous would be having a truth and denying it.
Well, and Richard, to your point, it would be really hard, in my opinion, if the creator of the universe is laying out these signs. It'd be really hard to deny that sign, right? Like, I mean, this just seems, because to me, if I can, and to not see a sign for what it is that God's clearly put out there, right? That to
Right.
me makes just God weak or inept or whatever you want to call that. Because I agree with you. Nobody's out there denying like God exists. Well, you just want to sin or whatever these common tropes are.
Right.
It's simply like, I don't see what you're talking about. And if you believe that there truly is a sign, I think what Jamie's talking about, it'd be really hard for me to wrap my head around God creating a sign that not everyone can see, or that
Right.
anyone could actually deny. Like you're saying, like literally, like
I saw a sign and it opened,
And it opened
my
up my eyes, and I am
I
happy
saw
now
a
living
sign.
without you.
It's funny because show
Wilson
me a
Phillips.
blind atheist. Bring a blind atheist into the stream, and then ask him if he believes in signs. I bet you won't find a blind atheist, a person who can't see without sight. Bring me a blind atheist, and then I'll tell you if they need a sign or not.
I'm not sure what that meant.
How is a blind person going to see a sign?
I mean,
Yeah, well, they're not.
yeah, they're not going to see it, but I think when they say see a sign, I mean, you know,
Good
experience
luck.
something.
Good luck finding a blind atheist too. You'll never find one.
I've met a blind atheist before. Oh, you mean not spiritually blind?
He's talking physically.
Physically blind.
Yeah, according to Christians,
And-
all atheists are spiritually blind.
I'm talking good luck finding a atheist who's actually physically blind, because all the blind people know that God exists because they're blind.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
like we can prove that you're just wrong. Like you literally there are
Go
blind atheists out
go
there.
ahead and prove me wrong. Bring me a blind atheist into the stream.
Let's say it's been your experience that you've never met a blind person who is atheistic. How about that?
Never.
Okay, good enough. I believe you that that's your experience, because that's not impossible, not in any way.
Sure. Do you, Light and Fire, believe that there are no physically blind atheists on this planet?
I
You asked for
believe that
this.
a blind person is much more likely to believe in God than a
Yeah, but
seeing person.
that's not what I asked, dude. You
Because
said
you're
bring me
the
a
seeing people always looking for a sign, while the blind person is not looking for a sign. They're looking within.
So sure, but Light and Fire, do you believe that on this planet that there are literally no human beings that are blind that are also atheists?
Well, go ahead and show me one. I dare you to bring one in here.
I dare you to answer the question, yes or no. I mean, like, why? I don't see why this is so hard.
Go ahead and find one. If you can find one, let me know.
Yeah, again, I just asked you a simple question, dude.
I think that's definitely what he's claiming by his first original statement.
Sure, I do too, Richard, but why is it so hard for him to say no? I
I don't
don't
know.
believe there
Maybe
are
he just
any
doesn't like
blind
being
atheists.
pressed.
Well, I don't know. I don't. I think he wants that door open, right? Like I don't think he actually wants to
It is an
stand
open
on
door.
that
It's an
ride.
invitation to prove me wrong. Go ahead and prove me wrong, man.
Well, I'm asking you to actually state your position first, and then we can talk about why you're wrong.
I'll tell you what my position is. Every atheist would cite the reason they're atheists is because they're always looking for visions. They're always looking for some proof. Even if the proof hit them in the face, they'll still want proof of that proof. That's
Okay,
why they're
Light and Fire.
atheists.
So, since you won't answer that particular question, I'd just like to ask Jamie Russell, who is a Christian brother of yours, tell you about an atheist he has met that's blind.
Yeah, I've met one in Seattle. I used to live in Seattle. Growing up, there was a guy that was blind. That was an atheist. He walked around Green Lake with a
Was he
walking
spiritually
stick.
blind or physically blind?
Physically blind. Blinded, yeah.
With a walking stick? Well, I never met one. Well, go ahead and did you talk to him about spirituality? Did you
I
ask
was a
him
little
what he
kid. I was a little
thinks?
kid.
Did you, like, I want to talk to a blind. I want to talk. Oh, yeah, see, you were a little kid. That you never really talked to him.
No, I was.
But I would like to talk to like a physically blind person, and I want him to, tell me he's an atheist, and want me, tell me that he doesn't believe in God. I want him to tell me that.
Yeah, I would agree that a lot of blind people are likely have hope in Christian beliefs. I would say, in most cases, in many cases. I mean,
I'm sure there are a lot of blind Muslims. Does that do anything for you, Light and Fire?
They still believe in Allah. Allah is God for them, so it's fine.
What about blind? What about, so if there are 3,000 different religions out there, as long as they're blind and they believe in something, that gives you more, I guess, like, what does that do for you?
It doesn't do anything, but it just proves your position of atheism is completely flawed.
Well, I think even Richard would disagree with that.
I was searching videos for people who have lost their faith because they went blind. So what was going on over here?
I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to get into any kind of like semantics.
I just heard Richard, so I came back over here, and that's all
Well,
I
you
heard.
guys talking about the
this is-
vision. You want to receive a vision from the Supreme Creator,
Richard,
and you guys want him to prove you wrong all the time. But I'm telling you, the Supreme Creator lives within every single individual. It's inside you, man. You just got to close your eyes and listen.
he's saying, Richard, basically, because he's never seen a blind atheist, that points to God. And
Okay.
that's a logical position of some sort, and I'm saying I don't think that's a logical position, nor do I think it's right, because I think there are probably thousands of people that identify as atheists that are physically blind. I mean, Jamie's talked about one on his that he met, and then the guy, and then, you know, Light and Fire, you immediately say, well, was he spiritually? Was he this? Did you talk to him? Like, this rationale, it can't simply be oh, well, maybe that's problematic. It's always going to be, you always are going to have some sort of response, even if I dragged some poor bastard to your house that was a blind atheist. That's like, why would I want to talk to this crazy person? You're simply going to beat him up in whatever, like, semantic
Why
argument
would I
that you want to have. I meant semantically, right?
him up?
Because that's what you did. That's
dare
what
you
you
to
did
bring
to
one up in the
Jamie.
hangout over here and just have him answer some questions. He doesn't have to go anywhere. He can just, you know, talk to us. I mean, he's not deaf, is he?
No, but Light and Fire. If I said I've never earned $30,000 in a single year, I've never earned that much, and then later I said to you I have a Lamborghini, you know, I've got this positive claim that seems unlikely, and I mean, it's on me to provide evidence to that effect. So, in your claim that blind people are never atheistic,
I'm daring all the atheists of the world to bring me some blind atheists.
no, that's your job. That's what I'm saying. It's not his job.
I
it's
don't
your
know.
job.
Do you know any? I don't know of any. Do you know any? That's why I'm asking you. I'm talking
Just
to
do
the
a short
atheists
search.
to bring
Just
me
be
a blind
honest with
person.
yourself. Just be honest with yourself and do a short search and see if it bears out. That's all. And what was it I would or wouldn't agree to? I don't know what that was.
That was my point. Is the simple fact of the matter is, this is why you pointed out what I think you wouldn't agree with, is you're saying, look, dude, if you're claiming there are no blind atheists, that's on you, right? Like, because just daring me, literally saying, hey, if you can't bring me a blind atheist, therefore Jesus or God or whatever you believe in, that's that's so far from any kind of like reasonable line of thought. And so for me, I immediately think, and again, this is just my personality, when someone says, hey, every blind person believes in a God because it's on their heart, right? Well, I don't think you can really prove that. And I think it's, again, a terrible way to come to any kind of what you think is a truth, to say,
Here,
hey,
I'll
because
explain
I've
my position.
hold on one second, Light and
I'll
Fire.
explain my position.
Because
when you
sure,
remove
go ahead.
one of the senses from the
Go ahead, my darkened understanding.
No, you didn't have to cut him off, Richard. I simply like the idea that this is good thinking is to say, because I've never seen a blind atheist, that gives me more sure footing on the position that God exists. I don't think that's good. That just seems odd to me, right? Like, I've never seen a blind atheist, so God must be real, right? Like, or this
Right.
it's odd to me. But yeah, let him talk. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to explain my position here. When you
Go ahead.
remove one of the senses from the human being, the sense of smell, the sense of touch, the sense of hearing, seeing, or talking, speaking, they remove their tongue. What happens is all the other senses in the body basically become higher, and they can sense everything better with the other remaining senses. And that always brings those people to believing, because they can sense the supreme creation much better than any regular person. They could see and do everything. So that's why I claim this. And the reason I bring this up is you'll have a problem finding a blind atheist. It'll be like a search of a lifetime for you guys.
Okay.
Well, it seems like Jamie's already found one, so that was kind of simple. But this idea that because you haven't seen something, that bolsters your position, I think is just terrible thinking, right? Because you're just saying, hey, I've never seen it, so my position is true, right? This is no different than a young Earth creation saying, "Hey, look, I see problems with evolution, therefore Jesus." No. Just because you see problems with evolution, that doesn't get you to Jesus. I can even say, sure, there are problems with evolution, or evolution isn't even how we all got here. But now what next? You don't get to claim whatever it is you're claiming is true because of this, right? Like, you never experiencing a particular thing doesn't point to anything other than the fact that you've never experienced that particular thing. It doesn't point to Jesus.
It might point to the rarity of blind people, however.
Yes.
Good point, TP Seeker. Yeah, blind people are a bit rare. But speaking of things not necessarily following darkened understanding, you got to give me a shorter name. What was your first name?
I'm Sean Richard. That's
Sean.
My
I
darkened
love the name
understanding.
Sean Richard. If I have a son, I'm gonna name him Sean Richard. That's awesome.
At
No, it
least
really
it's
sounded
not.
good together. Yeah.
At least it's not Richard Head, right?
Right. It could be worse. It could be worse. Okay, so
sorry.
on that bad thinking, what's your assessment of the Kalam cosmological argument? Or
It's
are you familiar?
It's a little familiar. It's been a long time. That's William Lane Craig's baby, right?
He likes it a lot. It's not his.
Like there, and it ends with like there. So a lot of Christians end it with therefore Jesus, but it's not. It's therefore like a creator must exist, right? I believe it has a lot of work to do to get to Jesus. Is that would I guess be?
I think you can't get to a God from the Kalam in the first place, actually. And
much
there's
less Jesus, yeah.
This hidden assumption in William Lane Craig's finish of the Kalam. Because, I mean, what it really states is some things are created. That requires creation, right? And then it leaps immediately to his God. But, when that's been brought up to him, he says, no, it doesn't leap to my God. I have more arguments to get to that. But I don't think it gets to a God at all. Because, who found a picture of William Lane Craig?
That's
Jamie
Jamie
found
Russell.
A picture of him. Yeah. That's William a couple years back when he was still, something probably close to my age and pretty healthy. The man's getting old. I think the furthest it can get you is actually the contingency argument, that there are contingent things that require an external explanation. That's the word I was looking for. I'm good at English. And the problem that I find with it is that I don't actually have a problem with all things being contingent. And I think that, enough contingent things in some kind of a working system is creator enough of other contingent things. For instance, the sun in our solar system formed at one point. And then, the gravitationally collapsed solar disk starts to form planets because now there's a sun there. Well, the sun's contingent. Yeah, but it created planets.
So, Richard, when they have is this along the lines of if everything is contingent upon something else, there has to be something at the base of it, right? I think is the thing.
That's the idea, yeah. I just disagree with you, the whole premise.
For me, what's hard to wrap my mind around, or always was problematic for me, was everything that's created has a creator except this.
Except the creator.
Right. It's hard to say everything, but you're going to exclude something, because then you can't say everything. You simply have to, in my mind, this is the way just my mind would work, and I'd always be like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why is God special? And the honest answer is because God's special, right? But there's so many people running around trying to figure it out God's special, and let's leave it at that. And I didn't have a problem. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I would say it's a little bit better argument than that. It's that, it's self-evident that things don't just come into existence. And so the idea, it's not really cheating to say that there's likely something like a base to everything. And then you ask because then you can say it's a more detailed version of just kind of the thought experiment of, can time have existed forever? Because how would we ever get to today if it exists? If there's infinite days going backwards, that doesn't really make sense. So it seems like self-evident that there's some sort of beginning in some sense, and then you think, well, what causes things to begin? Usually, an act of will or an event. And if the event was just a physical event, whatever caused it to happen, what made it happen when it did? And so when you get back to the universe, it's like if there was a reason it happened that was natural, it would have happened before that if the sufficient reasons for its cause were existing too. So it gets complicated. That's where, to me, it gets.
Well, I think it's super complicated one, and like a bunch of like laymen sitting around a table talking about it is kind of fun, but at the end of the day, we're just kind of spinning our wheels. But for me, the two big things that I think about are, one, I don't know if there was a start, right? And the other thing would be, because like our universe could have popped out of something. So you've got to go all the way back to like something we have no conception of, I think, right? Like, because you'd have to say the cosmos was created, or maybe there's something beyond the cosmos we haven't found yet. I don't know that much about that. But usually paired with that is the common Christian argument, well, something can't come from nothing. But this is just
it's a theism. It's an argument for theism.
Well, sure. One, it is that, but that's not anyone's position except the theist in my experience, because I don't believe something came from nothing. I mean, as a theist, you kind of have to, because you believe God created something from nothing. But I don't believe that I don't even know if nothing's possible, right?
But you don't think I'm not. I've heard all this stuff, so I'm not trying to go this direction or whatever. I would
Me
just
either.
Say it's
Me
infinite
either.
reject, an infinite what do you call it? Recess. Regress. Yeah, would be impossible. It seems like to me, from my mind, anyways. It's
I
like
actually
that
have an
doesn't sound
argument
right.
against the infinite regress, Jamie.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Were there time and changes within the infinite regress?
Yeah.
Okay, in those times and those changes, did some of them happen near the beginning of that infinite?
Yeah. To me, that seems impossible. It seems
What if
like
we're just early in the infinite?
things wear out? Oh,
Well, because there is no early in an infinite. There's infinite.
Yes,
days
there
of
has to
time.
be an early infinite.
Well, that's why
It's like
there's
saying there was no first half.
Yeah, but if
In which
there
case
isn't-
I'd say, was there a first quarter? Was
Well,
there a
you
first
don't.
eighth?
No, that's it. That's the problem. There isn't though.
There's no duality, guys. You guys are making a mistake. It's all in one and one and all. That's why you guys have a problem understanding this, because all in one and one and all. You guys always look for duality in everything.
No, I
Hey,
like.
can I interrupt Richard for 1 second, because I just want to jump off. My lady got off early from work tonight, so
Oh, good for you
I'm gonna
guys.
spend a little time. I enjoyed being on your 500 plus subscriber stream. Congratulations, and
Thanks.
it was nice to talk to everybody. Richard, I'll see you again, I'm sure. And Jamie, I hope to
so.
be able to jump on your channel at some point again soon, even if just to say hi.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Spoil them in
All right,
whatever
guys.
way you can, man.
Yeah, you guys have a great night. Congratulations again, Richard. I'll see you soon.
Good job, Richard. You beat me to 500. Congratulations. I hate you. No, I'm kidding.
I wasn't trying to. It's not a contest.
I've like stagnated at 450 for the last 3 weeks. It's weird. It was going up, and then just bang. It's just nothing. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I've heard people say that.
It was out of nowhere. Just stopped. I started losing a few, and then I gain one back, and then lose one, and then gain two, then lose one, then lose one. It's weird. I don't really care that much. I mean, you get where you're
It
watching.
reminds me of the bus driver's problem. Do you know the bus driver problem?
No. I can get-
Okay, so it goes like this. You're driving a bus, and you have 6 passengers to start with, right? And then you drop off 3. At the next stop, you pick up 5. At the next stop, you drop off 7. At the next stop, you pick up 6. How old's the bus driver's mom?
I have no idea.
Yes, you do.
How old is the bus driver's mom? Okay.
Yeah.
Older than the bus driver?
Yeah, but there should be an actual number there.
Yeah, I missed it.
Let me repeat it. You're driving a bus.
Oh, she's 69.
See?
I was not putting myself in that picture.
Yeah, but I did.
But you did, and I didn't hear it.
That's right. Aren't we interesting?
Yes, yes, we are.
That's interesting. Theological is big on facts and not much on making stuff up. And what do you think of this, guys? The James Webb Telescope is showing evidence that the universe is older than the Big Bang, that it wasn't the beginning.
Big inning. I would say it was. I would say there's evidence for something like that, but I'm waiting to see the evidence.
Yeah. It's awfully new.
There does seem to be stuff further back than in the developed form than they thought, but I want to see the hard evidence of that, before I say anything. Seems to me there's evidence of something like what they're saying, but it's got to be confirmed, and we got to have more data, I think.
I think as soon as we say something like infinite regress, we've mixed up two terms. If we're talking about physicality and we say infinite, which is only a real possibility mathematically, it's not a possibility in physicality.
I agree.
And we have the term because of mathematics, not because of physics.
Right.
Why did we even conceive of it is the question. If you really
because you have to.
Yeah, it's interesting how that just
well, it's
zero,
the opposite of zero.
Yeah,
cool. It's cool.
Like in order to have one negative and positive on a graph, both X, Y, and Z axis, then you have to have a center. Well, what are you going to call that very, very, very center? Well, it's infinitely small. The actual zero is infinitely small in along the number line, right? But you need it as a placeholder, and infinite is the unzero.
Yeah,
for mathematics.
Well, there's no zero in history on the timeline. No, that's for a different reason. But do you think? Well, the more you understand, irrational numbers and that sort of thing, it's interesting. Like, I'm not up on that recently. I have been in the past, but I don't work with math very often. But I do like it. I think just when you start to explore those ideas, and it's pretty interesting. Not that I'm not saying anything.
Have you ever looked at some of I have a few videos on my channel about that are just in like a playlist that are really interesting about really large numbers that people have conceived of, and how you start to try to wrap your mind around it. You start to feel like you want to commit suicide. I mean that colloquially or whatever. I mean that jokingly.
Well, I don't know how, guys, you are blind to see that the intelligence that we have built into this body that can make you heal yourself, can turn other things in you, it can digest food and make it you. It's the same intelligence that created all of this.
Pretty cool.
How people are blinded to that? Like, I don't know, how can you not see that?
Okay.
You see that, don't you, Richard?
Well, in a manner of speaking, yeah, I do agree with that generally. Although some of the specifics I would have some issues with, but no, I think it's amazing, really amazing. But I also think it can't be logically shown that necessarily there was an intelligent creator that purposefully created humankind. I don't think that can be shown, and I'll tell you why. If a person appeals to apparent design, and then they say, well, this being, this person, created all things, well, then you have no samples of the opposite to compare it with. In which case, you could say something like, all things are almost infinitely complex, and that doesn't prove your point. but you definitely can't say this one thing is infinitely complex and everything else is simple and that happened naturally.
See,
So-
the problem is what you're talking about, you cannot see with your eyes. Your eyes cannot see what you're talking about. That's the
And
problem.
you said something about that before, and I would ask you, Light and Fire, and I'm not trying to poke holes in your experience. That's not my point. But I would like to encourage you to have more experiences that make sense against what I think reality is. And as soon as you say something as internalize and you will know, and blind people, because they're not distracted by visual distractions, they see better inside themselves and they have these realizations. You could easily be saying, I like my biases. And that would be just as valid of a thing to say. And someone's microphone Batman, I guess. Yeah,
Richard,
what's
let me
that
ask you this,
microphone?
Richard. Do you believe that math is invented or discovered?
Well, I don't like your terms, but obviously discovered.
What does that imply then, as opposed to the other?
L-
What other? Or
Do you see another option, or
yeah, it seems like it has
So-
to be one
so
of the other.
Here's why people say that and what they mean by it. When I say a pencil, okay, I am making a statement. The statement may be true or may be false. But what makes the statement true is a pencil, like the actual thing. So when we say one, we mean one thing as it applies. In fact, all of math is saying that is that thing right there, which follows from classical logic, right? And all math does that. It's just describing the actuality. So if you say something like, in outer space, things could appear to be, a triangle, right? But if you look at it from this way, the triangle's actually like that, right? That's geometry in real time. And trigonometry and all the rest of it. They already exist. If there were no human minds, there would still be geometry. So we're not prescribing maths. We're describing the reality with maths.
Richard, can I ask you? Have you
Good
ever
answer.
read? Have you ever took the time to read the Upanishads?
I have not read all of the Upanishad.
It's only you can listen to the audiobook. It's about 3 hours long.
Okay.
So I would like to talk to you after you read that book.
I'm not going to read it. Would you like to talk to me now instead?
I mean, you will have a hard time understanding my concepts because it's based on that book.
I'm not having trouble understanding your concepts, and I think I've reviewed enough Upanishad that I would understand what you would be saying, but I'm not going to go and spend 3 hours reviewing and maybe learning parts I did not hear before, did not read before.
It actually explains when you made an example of the pencil, of the reality that it has a name and then it's in physical form. In the Upanishads, they actually go into explaining that how people perceive it. First, everything has a name, then it has an appearance, okay? But it also has a third element to it.
I don't think that's confusing.
Richard, I've got to go. I've got to take off, man. It's good talking to you.
Well,
See you.
thanks
Eunice.
for dropping by, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's
you,
good
man.
talk. Good talk. Sorry to run in.
Hey, open up some of your streams sometime. Don't just stream other people's stuff and not talk about it.
No, I
That's
will.
no fun.
I'm interviewing somebody tonight at 8 actually on dispensational theology tonight. So
Okay,
he's
cool. Have
debated
fun.
on Standing for Truth's channel about this, and it's a subject I've been studying. So I'm just gonna have I'll probably open up the room after that. But
Well, I will
see you,
have to
buddy.
come over there and check you out, man.
All right, man. See ya.
So Light and Fire, did you want to say something about that whole idea set, or something you derived from it that you think is highly valuable and would help anybody?
Yeah, it's the admin, man. It's I mean, I recommend everybody read the Upanishads. And
Would you give
spend
them
the time
Would you give
to
them a
understand it.
reason to read it though? Please give them a reason to read it. Like, say, what's the benefit? Tell them the benefit.
Immortality.
Okay, I suppose that's probably appealing to some people. Okay, cool. Batman, are you even here, man? You're not, are you? Huh. Caught you this time, buddy. Okay. What do you say we leave Batman in the room just to teach him a lesson? What do you think? Just walk away from the stream for who knows how long.
It's your stream, Richard. You do as you like.
Well, I'm going to thank you for coming on, Light and Fire. I hope to have more conversations with you in the future.
I hope I brought a different perspective to your talk today.
Probably different for a lot of folks, but you may or may not know that I am fully persuaded that all of the ancient texts are valid. Like, I reviewed Ramayana and I wept. Okay? So it's like that for me. All right? That's not that appealing.
I listened to it several times. I keep listening to it because it's like reading, and you pick up something new every time you listen to it. And it'd be interesting just to get your opinion on it. If you have the desire to read it, but I can't force you to do it.
I've actually I said I've reviewed quite a lot of this. I can talk in depth about my theory of, I don't know, Sita. I could talk a bunch about Sita if you want.
Go ahead and I'll listen.
Well, I was actually wrapping up the show tonight, but love to have that talk with you sometime. In fact, I would talk about all of the Garden of Ravan, and the meaning of the fact that Ram has a hard time going there, and what all that means. In my view, I have opinions about it.
All right.
All right. But thanks for your time. Thanks everyone who came in. Thanks everyone in the side chat. Everyone who might watch this in the future. All of you should feel assured that I look forward to the day that we're all great friends. And Batman for not being here as the show ended. And I love Batman. He's a brilliant guy. But until next time, guys.
It was nice talking to you, Richard. Talk to you later. Bye.
You too.